Hello and welcome to what I hope will be the first in many episodes, though not too many, of a Let's Play around Dark Souls, the Prepare to Die edition. Recently ported over to PC. I believe this was a game called Demon Souls on consoles. But yeah, they've changed the name slightly to Dark Souls. Though from what I understand, it's a similar game, if not the same game, but don't quote me on that. I didn't play the original, I don't know anyone who did. But I was aware of the original for a few interesting reasons, one of them being the multiplayer aspect, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So, Dark Souls, an action RPG from the developer FromSoftware. That is, FromSoftware. Yeah, interesting name, that one. Published by Namco Bandai Games. And I believe it was released in August, towards the end. You can obviously check this up if you're interested. I will have a link to the Steam page on the first page, this video rather, of the Let's Play. But before I go any further, just one very important point. I think they have a warning of this on Steam, just in case anyone does go think, oh, PC game, I'll be able to use my keyboard. I think this is pretty much designed for controllers. So unless you've got a controller, think very seriously about getting this game. I hear some terrible stories about how unplayable it is if you don't have a controller. But that all said, let's go ahead and press the start button. Now, I can load some games. I've tried out a few test games. I always like to at least have the controls down before I start a game. I'm sure no one really wants to see me fumbling around the controls. But I've only played about an hour, maybe 2 or 3 hours of gameplay, and my progress has been fairly glacial through the plot. I've been mostly interested in just exploring the controls, the game itself, the mechanics, some things like that. I've made, I think, 2 or 3 characters, and yeah, I haven't got very far with any of them. So this will be a quasi-blind playthrough. I'll stress this is not a walkthrough. Don't come and follow this Let's Play if you want to know how to play the game, because I most certainly do not know. I will be meandering my way through the areas and levels and generally exploring. I will probably not take a very efficient route through any of the areas, so if that sort of thing will frustrate you, then please consider watching one of my other Let's Plays, or just not this one, because I know that some people do get very annoyed at the idea of blind playthroughs. But yeah, although I know how to play the game, more or less, I will be playing this for the first time after about an hour or 2 into the game. I'll be in new territory. I will let people know when I'm coming up to new content. But we'll go ahead and create a new game. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can do in here. The customization in this game is honestly staggering. I've not seen character customization like this outside of an MMO, but I'll show you that in a moment. We'll go ahead and enter a name. Naturally, we will be Aavak. There's no difference between male and female by the seams of it, though I do like the fact that, you know, you haven't got ridiculous battle lingerie for the female characters. I always appreciate that in games. Let's go for a male character though. Class. There are lots of different classes, and this is primarily why I've made a few other test characters, just to see what the different classes really offer to the game. You can notice in the bottom left a lot of stats, and the different classes change these. I think they may come with different starter equipment. As you can see, the equipment that they're wearing is the equipment they've got on. This is a nice game in that as you change your gear, it'll reflect that on your avatar. So you can see this knight here has some heavy armor. That's equipment he will have for being a knight. The wanderer has rags and so on and so forth. The thief, for example, has a master key as like a spare item, or well, not a spare item, but a utility item. And I'm sure the other classes have similar sort of things. I've not explored them all. One interesting thing, though, I was quite amused with, is amongst the stats at the very top, you have level. And the different classes start at different levels. Now, from what I've seen in the game, the level, every time you increase a stat, you level up. any of those other stats. You can't increase humanity directly, but everything else you would level up by 1 point by spending the EXP/currency in the game, which is souls. And when you do that, you increase a level. So these characters which have higher stats start at higher levels. Now that affects how many souls it requires to level up at all. So after the first point you put into any particular ability, it becomes more costly to put the next point. It doesn't matter how low the ability you're rising is. For example, here, it would cost the same to rise faith as it would to rise dexterity, as it would to rise strength or attunement. It's the level that affects how much it's going to cost to increase a stat, not the level of the stat itself. But yeah, I've played a couple of these. They all have their different equipment and stuff. But I think for giggles, yeah, we'll go with the Deprived. An unclothed enigma, only armed with a club and an old plank shield. Hopefully we can get some better equipment pretty quickly, but yeah, we'll start with this. On the plus side, we have a fairly even amount of levels. It seems that this is a very blank slate character. All the others seem to have specializations kind of thrust upon them. The Thief, obviously, he's got fairly high dex, so is the Wanderer. The Knight is more your tank. The Hunter is an archer. These sorts of things. Whereas the Deprived seems to have blanket even stats. It does mean that he starts at level 6. But yeah, I think we'll go with that. Now, gift. We can select a few gifts. And I've not really played enough with these to have any clue. We've got Goddess's Blessing, which Divine Holy Water fully restores HP and status. I don't know what Divine Holy Water is. If that's an item that this character starts with. If that's the case, is it consumable? By all means, if anyone knows these questions, please leave me a comment. There's Black Fire Bombs. I know that's consumable. Twin Humanities. I guess that just allows you to increase your humanity to start with. Binoculars, Pendant, Master Key. These things all do different things. Like binoculars, you can use them to peer further ahead. The Pendant, Trinket with no effect, but fond memories comfort travelers. Now, I'm curious about this one. I'm imagining that this engenders fondness from NPCs you talk to, maybe open up some different dialogues. Master Key opens any basic lock. It's initial equipment for the Thief, though as we're not a thief we'd have to expressly choose it. I'm not sure which that would be. Tiny Being Ring, a special tribal ring, HP recovery slowly while equipped, and Old Witch Ring, a gift from a witch, ancient ring with no obvious effect. We'll go for the Tiny Being Ring. Physique, we can choose from a number of different things, so we're not going to be that. It's not very slim, that's like deficient in some way. Wow, looks like he'd like fall over in a strong wind. Large, very large. That just looks wrong. That one, yeah, that one looks wrong as well. I guess large is a good one, and average. Top heavy, tiny head. Well, obviously they're like comical ones, I guess. Let's go for average. Yeah, face looks horrible. First, we'll pick a hairstyle. Now, there's lots of different hairstyles. I'm not going to... As I said before, the character customization in this is staggering, and I'll show you that very briefly. But I'm not going to go into it, I'm just going to quickly throw something together, but you could easily spend a very long time making these characters. It's kind of like The Sims, only worse. Let's go to ponytail. That's actually one of the better done ponytail models that I've seen in the game. Different dark blue. Dark blue hair and eyes, common in Karim. Gold, so dark purple. Dark purple hair and eyes, a rare colour of a near extinct race. It's far too anime for such a gritty game. And that actually does bring me on to something else I'll quickly touch on before we go any further. Although I don't know, I've not seen anything particularly offensive in the game. No sort of dark comments or particularly dark themes or strong language, or any sort of suggested sexual content. I'm not sure that it isn't there. I can only say that it hasn't been there up until up to so far as I've gotten in my previous playthroughs, which is only about an hour or two, as I've said. So, given that this game is a fairly dark and gritty game in other aspects, I would caution anyone that if that sort of stuff offends you, then possibly visit your good friend Google and just check whether that content's in the game or not, and maybe let me know if it is. If it's not, go ahead and watch. If it isn't, well, you know, if this stuff is in the game, well, you've been forewarned. So I feel my LPA obligation is fulfilled in that regard. Watch at your own risk, basically. Now, we can choose from a bunch of preset faces, and that's probably what I'm going to do. But I will quickly... Oh, let's have a look. He's quite pale. We'll go for this guy. But you can customize them, and as I said, I'll give you a quick rundown on this, just to show you how much you can do. Now, you can just do a sort of... create a similar face, so it'll kind of randomly generate a face in the same sort of... with the same sort of like aesthetic and shape to it. Or you can go all the way down to customize and literally customize anything. Go entire, you can balance all sorts of things up, like the ratios, the color type, and this I will change. A little bit paler. And bring this down a little bit. And then there's loads of different options. The nose bridge color. There we go. That's evened it out. Okay, that's good enough. But yeah, there's lots of different things here, like brow width, brow asperity, nose bridge width. Most of the options have multiple sort of tabs in them. And then you go to nose. And, I mean, there's so much here that it could literally take you hours if you wanted to put the time into it. I don't particularly want to at the moment, but I will change a few things. Now, unfortunately, you can't have a beard, which is a bit of a shame, because, you know, kind of time period, I assumed most men had beards around here, but the most you can do is kind of give him extremely, I mean, it's saying dense, but really what it means is a very thin sort of stubble. But you can barely even see the difference. So, that's a shame. I don't want a ginger beard. What nonsense is that? Don't want a blue one either. But anyway, so there you go. That's the customize. I'm not going to bother. So I basically exited out, and the customization that the tweaking that I did has been lost. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. And there's the character in his tasteful loincloth, his wooden shield, and his wooden club. So let's begin. Okay, to start game with this character. Yes. Now I am going to take you guys through the FMV and the tutorial. I'll just let you listen to this, so I'm going to be a bit quiet for a few minutes.
Shrouded by fog, a land of grey crags, arch trees.
I'm not really going to be quiet. I mean, arch trees. That just sounds awesome. I wonder what an arch tree is. Some sort of huge, ancient thing.
Fire. And with fire came disparity. Heat and cold. Life and death. And of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came.
As always they do.
And found the souls of lords within the flame.
Now this part I quite like.
Nito, the first of the dead.
That looks awesome.
the Witch of Asylum and her daughters of chaos.
She seriously needs to learn to wear gloves when she's handling flames.
The Lord of Sunlight and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons.
Crazy two-jawed mouth there. I honestly can't imagine any sort of situation where having a jaw within your jaw is a good idea.
Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more.
Oh, clearly they still are, because the Scaleless is around, isn't he a dragon? Although with wings like that, it looks a lot more like a fairy. Fairy dragon.
Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers.
So with the women in this FNV just constantly trying to grab hold of fire, or embers in this case, with their bare hands, it just doesn't seem like it's a very good idea to me.
Carriers of the accursed dark sign. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world.
How ominous.
This is your fate.
Oh man, I didn't really think about the whole hollow thing when I chose not to wear any clothes. That's a bit grim. Mysterious figure throwing bodies down at us. Now that white thing on top of him, I believe is a soul. Or, actually no, it means that there's something there to pick up, but ah man. I totally should have thought of that when I decided to be barely clothed. That doesn't look good. Oh well. Let's go and investigate what this is. Dungeon cell key. Now, as I said, this is a controller game. And I'm not especially good with controllers. So I'm going to do a lot of stupid things when I don't mean to. I hope that doesn't bother anyone. But I've practiced a few things. I think I've gotten down like shield kicking. Like that. If an opponent's got a shield up, you can kick it out of the way and strike them. And you've got like a weak strike which you can string together. And yeah, every time you smack a wall you do damage your weapon a little bit, so try to avoid that if possible. Now, I am going to play through the tutorial. Just in case someone hasn't played this game at all and they are watching it for the whole point of seeing what the game's like from start to finish. So I welcome you along for the journey.
But if you have played through this, feel free to skip forward. And indeed, you may have already skipped forward half of the stuff in this video so far. Now, right stick is camera controls. These scrollings on the floor, they're going to be tutorials for now. But later in the game you can actually get something, I think it's called an orange soapstone, and you can leave warning messages or tips or red herrings, if you really want to, on the floor, and it'll show up in other people's games. And that's something that I was talking about in when I mentioned the interesting multiplayer aspect. Now, I'm just going to kill this dude. Though I always kind of feel sorry killing them, because they're just there, not hurting me, just kind of being miserable. Staying there, look at the horrible demon, roaming around with what looks like a giant mace. There's something about these guys' tails I've heard on the internet. Apparently, something to do with breaking them or something. But I've not really focused on that. As I said, you've got a strong attack, so with this broken sword, there's not much of a difference. There's me completely missing. If you press the right stick, you'll actually lock on, which I guess is much more console-y. But yeah, as I was saying, there's an interesting multiplayer aspect. I've heard a few people call it passive multiplayer, and I think that that's a very good way of describing it, in that people can leave messages in their game, and it's a very single-player experience in some ways, and they will randomly pop up in other people's games at the same locations. You won't see all of the messages that everyone has left, or at least I assume you won't, but it's pretty cool, and you can get these messages rated. Up in the top left, you'll see 00 within a little grey circle. Sorry, my mouse cursor is turned off, so I can't draw my mouse up to it, pull your attention there. But that's effectively your humanity. Humanity is a very scarce resource, and it can be used as currency for certain things, and can be used in a utility function. It changes some of your stats if you've got it, and allows you to do a few other things like become more human. And I'll explain these concepts and the actions as we get to them. But for now, just understand that it's a fairly rare currency, and it's quite useful to have it in abundance. And if people like your messages and rate them positively, then your humanity will go up for every positive rating. I don't know if it goes down for each negative rating or not. I would assume so, since it goes up for it. You can also find humanity on corpses, and down in the bottom right you'll see a little number there, and that's the amount of souls that I picked up, and this is effectively your general currency. You can use it to buy things, because most merchants trade in souls, and also you use it to level up. Now, the bonfires, these are effectively your sort of save points. You walk over to it, you light it, and from now on, if you die, you come back to this bonfire. Also, you can rest at the bonfire, and outside of the tutorial area, you'll have a load of other options to use. You can level up at them, you can repair your gear if you've got the right equipment, a few other things. But if you have humanity, then you can also kindle a bonfire. Now, you won't really understand what the difference is for that until a bit later, when I start gaining Estus flasks from the bonfires, basically like a healing liquid. We're going to go ahead through here. I think we'll actually encounter Estus flasks a little further up, so I'll leave the explanation for that until then. Now, just a foreword, I've been through this area before, and I know what happens. Lots of bad stuff happens, and it's not stuff that we're equipped to deal with here. So when it does, I'm just going to run out of this area as if I know what I'm doing. And in this instance, I do. I know what's coming, I know what I need to do, so just letting you know. What I did just then, by the way, is I touched the bloodstain. This is another part of the passive multiplayer. That ghosted image was another player who died, and their bloodstain was left, so when I touch it, it shows me how they died. So it's kind of like a warning. Now, we're just going to show you this. It says run away because he comes down here, so I'm just going to do that, and I get in here, and the door closes behind me, and I'm safe. Or he would have, like, smushed me all over the floor. It wouldn't have been pretty. I would look even worse than I do right now, and that is a very difficult thing to achieve. Now the bonfire is lit, so from now on we're going to spawn down here rather than back up here with that guy, which would be bad. Now we've got to get our shield. Right, so I'm going to run. This is bugger. Shot in the face. Just telling you how to equip things. I'm not going to go over the controls too much. If you get the game, then it'll make sense to you. And if you don't get the game, then it doesn't really matter for you to know how I'm controlling the character. But you have a left and right hand, and you can have like a swap item. For example, if I put that there, then I can swap my left and right hand. Obviously, in this case, it doesn't make any sense not to have the shield in my other hand. So I'm going to unequip that item and equip it there. Again, I'm really sorry, but I'm not 100% with consoles. I'm mostly a PC gamer. So I will make silly mistakes like leaving the menu option open right now. For example, I can't use my left or right hand in an aggressive or defensive capacity because it's the cursor, if you want to call it that, is stuck up in that little menu in the top, which is very annoying. I keep forgetting to close it. You will see me do that a lot. If experience has taught me anything, it's that I never learn that lesson. Come here, bugger. How about you? Oh. No? Now, he usually runs away. I guess he's just like looking at me and thinking, oh, I'm not going to run away from you. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? I've got a terrible little sword that does hardly any damage, but it does interrupt him, so... Can't believe we're just not doing any damage to him. It's going to take forever. No, get sword back up. Ooh. Now I need to run down here and re-equip my weapon. Just get out of his line of sight, otherwise he would just keep shooting at me. Okay. Now we finally got a club. Now just to show you, there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can check out what it talks about, like the hilt of this lost sword is found discarded in the undead asylum. It's completely rubbish. This will give you like some information, like it's a hammer type. It does striking attacks. But here you can see most of the interesting data, like the comparison. If I bring up the toggle status on the side, I can make a comparison with how it'll affect all of my stats once equipped. Like so, I'm not sure about this, but I believe the param bonus is showing that strength is an A. So it's saying that the higher my strength is, it has a significant effect on increasing the overall damage that this weapon will do. And on the right side, the rec param, the required parameters, so you need 10 strength to even equip it, but all the strength you have will add additional bonus to the damage it does. I think. Again, I'm not sure. Oop, almost forgot. That menu is still up. Oh, now I've got a weapon, he's running away. You bugger. Come back here. Yeah, I could run, actually. Oh, I missed him. Come hither. Okay, that's a bit better. And he was worth 20 souls. Now those grey lights are like area transitions, I guess. You can see a dude in there. And I don't think there's anything down here, actually. I've not been able to figure out how to get up there. I really would like to know. Damn it. But over hither, says things like, you backstep, just by, or you can roll. I guess it's your regular there. Down here, there should be a door that I can open, so that if I die, I can just run straight back up here. You'll find this happens a lot in the game. I found that your progress is kind of measured by opening things that can only be opened from one direction. That gate was one of them. I wouldn't have been able to open it from down here, but now that I've opened it from the other side, I can rest at that bonfire and respawn there from now on, so I'll have less of a track to get back in here. Now again, I've been through all of this, so there's a trap up there, and I'm just going to dodge out of the way. Like so. Cannonball. The first time, I didn't know it was there, and I just got smashed in the face by a giant iron ball, which then went on to break this wall. I won't be able to dodge too many of those traps. As I've said, I haven't got very far into the game, so you'll get to watch me hilariously get smushed repeatedly.
Oh, you. You're no hollow.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm
Having a look
not
at me.
afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead.
Yes, yes, I am undead. Look at me. Yes, okay.
I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know."
That sounds suitably ancient, with all the vows and
When I can die
arts.
with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask.
Ah, fine.
An undead favorite.
Basically your health potions.
Oh, and this. Now
There we
I
go.
must bid farewell. I would hate
Farewell,
to
brave
harm
knight.
you after death.
I would hate to be
So
harmed.
good now. And thank you.
No, thank you though. I always feel a little bit bad because you can hear him kill himself now. There we go. And then I promptly run straight back in and gather his soul. There we are. Thank you for your souls. Yeah, so Estus flasks. Now this is an interesting way to do their sort of like potion inventory. If I use one of these, like now, there we go, that'll heal some of my health. Now there's no way of picking these up. You don't just pick them up from barrels or things, and in fact, in my experience, this isn't a game where there are random loot drops from smashing crates. There are very specific crates in the game that will always have an item in them. And once you've got it, that's it, it's not going to respawn. But you don't pick up Estus flasks at any rate. You get them by resting at a bonfire. Now when I leave, I'll have full 5 Estus flasks. Now that's the most I can carry as a hollow. Now, one thing you can use your humanity for is to turn from a hollow back into a human. There are various ramifications and consequences for doing this. One of them is that other players can then invade your world in a much more active form of PvP, multiplayer, which can indeed be PvP, or they can come in to help you with a boss. You can summon them to come and co-op through the game, which is pretty cool. But yeah, they can invade you and can come try and kill you to steal your souls and your humanity, which is kind of a bummer. But I will probably be doing that at some point, just for the fun of it. Now, the other thing you can do as a human is you can kindle a bonfire, which allows you to hold 10 Estus flasks, which is pretty cool. Gives you significantly more staying power in fights. And we're just going to go straight up here. There should be a dude waiting to attack me. I'm just going to wallop him a bit. And we're going to use that key to open this. Can I get through there? I thought maybe I could smash that wall open for a moment. Apparently you can do that at some places, but I've not really come across it. If I press Y, I can wield my weapon with 2 hands. And everything becomes a little bit more powerful, I assume. And you can also block, like a parry. I'll illustrate that with the shield, actually. You regularly just block with the shield. I'll step out so you can see it better. Or you can do this, which is like parrying. You have to time that very well, though. You've got to time that just as they're about to attack, and you'll just throw them wide open. And then you can just lay into them while their guard is down. I'll see if I can do that. I'll try and... There's a few guys here. I'll try and thin them down a bit. Oh, actually, I may have only pulled away one, so we'll see if I can parry. No. Okay, I fail. And then, hit me again. Nope. Like I said, I'm not good at this. I'll try one more time. Come on, attack me. No, I'm just getting pounded in the face, so I'm just going to kill it. But take it on my authority, as good as it may be, you can actually parry sometimes, and that'll just throw their weapon-wielding arm to the side and leave them wide open. You can just jump in and smash them around a bit. There are ways of blocking shields as well. Sorry, not blocking them, but kicking them away to open up an opponent in much the same way as parrying an attack. Damn archers. There we go. While falling, plunging attack. And behind the enemy, critical hit. There's a guy in here with got a shield. I'll see if he can pull his shield up. Actually, I'm not going to spend too long. I want to try and get him to defend so I can try and kick his shield away to show you. Come on, defend. You can sense I've only got a wooden shield and he can just pound on it a bit. I need to drink an Estus flask. Oops. You can do backstabs in this game, and it literally just requires you to get behind them. So, you do a bit more damage. I'm not sure if all weapons can do it or not. It's locked, apparently. Let's move on. Oh yeah, parry. You can repel it. That's what I was talking about. And then after you do that, you attack it quickly afterwards, and it'll count as a riposte, or I'm not really sure if that's pronounced riposte. I'm not sure if there is another way to pronounce it, but anyway, we're going to end this first video here. I'm sorry for all of the tutorial talk and the explaining the game. I know it hasn't really gotten very exciting yet, but we've got a boss ahead, and I may well die because I'm very under-equipped, running around in my loincloth wooden shield and club. So I would rather not extend this video out too much longer by having to redo this boss battle 2 or 3 times. I'm going to try and avoid cutting out any of my failures, if I can help it. Obviously, if I fail over and over again, I may start cutting some things out, or at least cutting out the run back to the fight where I keep dying. But I'm going to try and give you as full and as genuine an experience as I can, as you follow me around, my failings and all. So we'll leave this boss battle for the next episode. I hope you will come to join me, and I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Please let me know if it's a bit too dark. I'm not sure with the darkness settings. I like to have my games as they were intended to be played, I guess. So I try to have them as dark as I can manage, whilst it's still being playable. But I'm not sure how that's going to come across in YouTube, so please let me know if this is a bit too dark for you to see everything. But it is a gloomy game, so I kind of assume that being only able to like work things out just from the shadows is part of the experience, I guess. So yeah, we'll just go and cut it off here, and I hope you will join me in the next episode. Take care.